Patagonia is not a country, but a region, split between Chile and Argentina at the southern end of South America, where the Andes Mountains descend into the Southern Ocean, and the land fractures into fjords, glaciers, and islands that stretch toward Antarctica. This is one of the least populated places on Earth outside the polar regions. With fewer than 2 million people scattered across over 1 million square kilometers of steppe, forest, and ice. The wind here is relentless, with gusts regularly exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. While the weather changes so rapidly that all 4 seasons can occur within a single day. Patagonia is the last true wilderness accessible without polar expedition logistics, where condors soar above glaciers, pumas hunt guanacos, and mountains rise in walls of granite that challenge the world's best climbers. Subscribe to Global Luxe Journeys and discover why Patagonia remains wild when most of the world has been tamed. The national park in Chile and Patagonia contains the 3 granite towers that give it its name. Rising over 2,800 meters above the Patagonian steppe in formations so dramatic they appear artificial. The W Trek covers approximately 80 kilometers over 4 to 5 days, through valleys, past glaciers, and beneath the towers. The Grey Glacier carves icebergs into Grey Lake with thunderous cracks that echo across the valley. And the French Valley creates an amphitheater of granite walls where avalanches are frequent. The park is expensive by South American standards, with entrance fees designed to limit visitors. Though crowds during high season from December through February still create bottlenecks on popular trails. The glacier in Los Glaciares National Park is one of the few in the world that is advancing rather than retreating, with the ice face extending into Lago Argentino and periodically forming an ice dam that ruptures in spectacular collapse. The viewing platforms provide close access to the glacier face, with the ice wall rising 60 meters above the water and extending another 70 meters below. The glacier is accessible as a day trip from El Calafate. The ice trekking tours take visitors onto the glacier itself with crampons and guides. And walking through ice formations and drinking whiskey cooled by ice that fell as snow centuries ago. Perito Moreno remains spectacular despite the tourism infrastructure developed around it. The mountain on the Chile-Argentina border rises 3,405 meters in a granite spire so steep that clouds form on its summit even when the surrounding sky is clear. Yet the technical climbing is among the most difficult in the world, with low success rates due to weather windows measured in hours rather than days. The mountain is named after Robert Fitzroy, captain of HMS Beagle during Darwin's voyage. Though the Tehuelche people called it El Chalten, meaning smoking mountain. The trekking routes around the base provide views without requiring technical climbing skills, or with the Laguna de los Tres hike being the most popular for sunrise views when the first light turns the granite pink and orange. The village in Argentina sits at the base of Mount Fitzroy and serves as the trekking capital of the region. With the population swelling from fewer than 2,000 permanent residents to over 10,000 during the summer trekking season. The town was founded in 1985 to establish Argentine sovereignty in a border region disputed with Chile. The trails radiating from town lead to Laguna de los Tres, Laguna Torres, and other viewpoints of the surrounding peaks. The town has grown rapidly with trekking tourism, with hotels, restaurants, and gear shops replacing the simple infrastructure that existed 2 decades ago. El Chalten is functional rather than charming, with basic architecture, but a location beneath the mountains, making it the necessary base. The National Park in Argentina protects over 7,000 square kilometers of glaciers, forests, and mountains along the Chilean border, divided into northern and southern sectors separated by the continental ice field. The park contains over 47 glaciers, fed by the southern Patagonian ice field, the third largest ice mass in the world after Antarctica and Greenland. The southern sector is dominated by Perito Moreno glacier and others flowing into Lago Argentino, while the northern sector contains Fitzroy and the Granite Spires, attracting climbers and trekkers. The park is UNESCO listed for its geological and glaciological significance. Tourism concentrates on Perito Moreno and El Chalten, with the vast majority remaining unvisited. The city on the Beagle Channel claims to be the southernmost city in the world, though Chilean Puerto Williams disputes this by being slightly further south. Ushuaia serves as the departure point for Antarctic cruisers and the gateway to Tierra del Fuego National Park. The Museo Marítimo y del Presidio occupies the former prison that operated from 1902 to 1947. With exhibits on maritime history and Antarctic expeditions, alongside cells where Argentina's most dangerous criminals were incarcerated. The city is expensive due to its remote location and the captive market of Antarctic cruise passengers. The setting is dramatic, with the Marshall Mountains rising behind the city and the Beagle Channel extending toward Cape Horn. The national park protects the southernmost forests in the world, with southern beech trees growing to the edge of the Beagle Channel. The landscape is characterized by peat bogs, beaver dams, and trails leading to viewpoints over the water and mountains beyond. The park is accessible from Ushuaia with the Bahia La Pataya Road terminating at the southernmost point, reachable by car in South America. The beavers introduced from Canada in 1946 have become invasive, with their dams flooding forests and altering the ecosystem. The coastal trail along the Beagle Channel provides views across the water to Chilean islands. The park receives heavy visitation from cruise ship passengers, with pressure concentrated on roads and main trails. And the city in Argentina sits on the shore of Nahuel Huapi Lake, surrounded by mountains that create scenery reminiscent of the Swiss Alps. The architecture deliberately evokes alpine villages through stone and timber construction, popularized in the mid-20th century. The city is Argentina's premier ski resort in winter and a lake recreation destination in summer. The chocolate shops on the main street compete with elaborate window displays and samples. The tradition dating to Italian and German immigrants who established confectioneries in the early 20th century. The Circuito Chico is a scenic drive around the peninsula with viewpoints over the lake and mountains. Bariloche is polished and developed compared to rugged southern Patagonian towns. The national park surrounding Bariloche protects over 7,000 square kilometers of Patagonian forests, lakes, and mountains. With landscape transitioning from wet forests on western slopes to drier steppe on the eastern side in the rain shadow. The park contains multiple volcanoes, including Tronador, with its hanging glaciers visible from viewpoints around the lake. The forests are dominated by southern beech and araucaria trees, with the latter being a distinctive conifer with branches growing in geometric patterns. And the park has extensive trail networks ranging from short walks near Bariloche to multi-day backcountry routes. The park receives heavy use near the city, though remote sections remain quiet and wildlife can be observed. The caves on Lago General Carrera are formed by wave action, eroding marble cliffs over thousands of years, creating caverns and arches with walls that swirl in shades of blue, white, and gray, depending on mineral content and water level. The caves are accessible only by boat from Puerto Rio Tranquilo, with tours taking visitors into the larger caverns when conditions allow. The lake is the second largest in South America, shared between Chile and Argentina, where it is called Lago Buenos Aires, with the water being glacial melt, creating the turquoise color. The caves are increasingly popular, with images appearing on social media. Though the remoteness limits visitor numbers to those willing to drive the Carretera Austral. The highway in Chilean Patagonia extends over 1,200 kilometers from Puerto Montt to Villa O'Higgins, with the road being mostly gravel and subject to washouts from rain and blockages from landslides. The road was built in the 1980s under Pinochet to connect isolated southern regions to the rest of Chile, with construction being carried out by the military in terrain so difficult that alternative routes were frequently impossible. And the journey from north to south takes a week or more, with stops passing through rainforests alongside fjords and over mountain passes, with scenery changing dramatically with every section. The road provides access to Culet National Park, marble caves, and numerous attractions that were virtually inaccessible before its construction. The glacial lake at the base of Cerro Torres sits in a valley carved by ice, with icebergs carved from the glacier floating in water that is milky with glacial sediment. The hike from El Chauten takes approximately 4 hours one way, covering 18 kilometers through Lenga Forest and across rocky terrain, with views of Cerro Torres appearing in the final kilometers. Cerro Torres is considered by many climbers to be the most difficult mountain in the world to climb, with the summit mushroom of rime ice changing shape with the weather and vertical walls requiring aid climbing on loose rock. Laguna Torre provides the classic view of the mountain for those not equipped to attempt the climb itself. The lake beneath Mount Fitzroy is reached by hiking from El Chauten through forest and meadows, before ascending a brutal final hour up a loose scree to reach the viewpoint where the lake and the mountain are revealed simultaneously. The sunrise view is considered one of the most spectacular in Patagonia, with the granite spire turning orange and pink in the first light, while the lake reflects the colors below. Reaching the viewpoint requires starting the hike in darkness and navigating by headlamp. The hike is approximately 20 kilometers round trip, with over 700 meters of elevation gain concentrated in the final ascent. The lake itself is small and unremarkable beyond its position beneath the mountain. The glacier in Torres del Paine National Park extends from the southern Patagonian icefield down to Grey Lake, where the ice face carves icebergs that drift across the water until they melt or wash ashore on grey sand beaches. The glacier is accessed by boat tours from Refugio Grey or by hiking the final section of the W Trek. The glacier has been retreating since measurements began, with the terminus moving back several kilometers over the past century, though the retreat rate varies annually. The boat tours navigate through icebergs to approach the glacier face. Though regulations prevent boats from coming too close due to danger of sudden calving events. Grey Glacier is one of the most accessible glaciers in Chilean Patagonia. The town on the Ultima Esperanza Sound serves as the gateway to Torres del Paine, with most visitors spending at least one night here before and after visiting the park. The town is functional rather than beautiful, with services oriented toward trekkers and tourists needing to stock up on supplies, rent gear, or book tours and accommodation. The waterfront provides views across the sound toward the mountains, with the sunset being particularly attractive when the light turns the water golden. The town has grown rapidly with the increase in tourism to Torres del Paine. Puerto Natales is a transit point and a service hub rather than a destination in itself, with the atmosphere being transient as trekkers arrive, prepare, depart, and return. The headland on Hornos Island marks the southern tip of the South American mainland, with the Cape being the point where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans meet in waters so treacherous that the passage around the Horn was feared by sailors for centuries before the Panama Canal provided an alternative route. As the Cape is accessible by cruise ship or by small boat from Ushuaia when weather permits, with landing being possible only in calm conditions that occur irregularly. The monument on the island honors the sailors who died attempting the passage, with estimates suggesting over 10,000 lives were lost in shipwrecks before the route became less frequently used. The waters are rough due to the interaction of currents, wind, and the concentration of the Southern Ocean through the narrow Drake Passage. The town in Argentina serves as the gateway to Perito Moreno Glacier and the southern sector of Los Glaciares National Park, with the economy being entirely dependent on tourism that peaks during the southern summer from December through February. The town is named after the caliphate berry that grows in the region, with local legend stating that anyone who eats the berry will return to Patagonia. The Glaciarium Museum on the outskirts displays information about glaciers and climate change, with exhibits explaining glacial formation, movement, and environmental threats. The town has grown rapidly over the past 2 decades, with new hotels and restaurants built to accommodate increasing visitor numbers. El Calafate is pleasant enough as a base for visiting the glacier. The lake, straddling the Chile-Argentina border, is the second largest in South America. And with a surface area of over 1,800 square kilometers and depths exceeding 200 meters in places where glaciers carved the basin during the ice ages. The lake is known as Lago Buenos Aires on the Argentine side. The lake's turquoise color comes from glacial flour, fine sediment created by glaciers grinding rock into powder so fine that it remains suspended in the water. The lake supports introduced salmon that have established wild populations after escaping from fish farms. The lake is beautiful in the way that Patagonian lakes are beautiful, with mountains rising directly from the water and the wind creating waves that resemble ocean swells. The private park in Chilean Patagonia was created by American conservationist Doug Tompkins. Patagonia is wind that never stops, weather that changes every hour, and landscapes so vast that human presence feels temporary at best. The glaciers are advancing while most of the world's ice is retreating. The mountains are genuinely difficult, not just tall, but steep and technically demanding in ways that test the world's best climbers. The wildlife is abundant in places and entirely absent in others, with the distribution being determined by geography and climate rather than by human management. This is the wildest place that can be reached without polar expedition logistics, where nature operates at a scale that makes human ambition look modest and human achievements look fragile. Subscribe to Global Lux Journeys for more expeditions to places where the wild has not been tamed. 25 locations across Patagonia, from Torres del Paine to Cape Horn, from Perito Moreno to the Darwin Range. All spectacular, all remote, all genuinely wild.